tell you. Even though everybody knows everything about Howard, here's what he wrote down. Past president, past area governor, club founder, DTM, etc., etc., etc. And that's Howard Brandt. Tonight, the title of the speech is When You Are the Toastmaster. Please welcome Howard Brandt.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Adam has already stolen part of my thunder. Because when you're a Toastmaster, you should dress properly. And here we have the example of how you should dress. At least have a sport coat, tie. Because those people who dress well are more likely to be considered, or people take them more serious. If you come up here dressed like I do tonight, because I didn't know I was going to speak, the people tend to not take you as seriously as they would somebody who's well dressed. So, when you're a Toastmaster, I'm going to give you examples of Toastmaster when you're here at Toastmasters, and then when you're out, maybe at your business or at your club or wherever. But when you're Toastmaster here, you've got a lot of responsibility, as you do when you're Toastmaster anywhere. But you need to line up all your speakers. If some of them are going to cancel out on you last minute, try to get somebody else in there to take their place. Pick somebody from out of the crowd like we've got here tonight. Get all this, the table topic person, be sure they're all set. The joke master. Talk to the general evaluator, get the names of the people who are going to be the grammarian, the timekeepers, and so on and so forth. So you know all of those people, and you can call their names at the end of the meeting. Then, you get all that done, everything's all set, you got the meeting under control, and you get up here, it's going to be relatively easy. Now that's not the case in all clubs. I've been in some clubs where you'd get to the meeting, and they'd say, well, let's see, your Toastmaster didn't show up. So why don't you be Toastmaster this evening? And then they would say, well, we don't have, only got one speaker tonight. George, why don't you speak tonight? See, and this happens. Not at this club, thank God, but this has happened, and I've been in clubs like that are no longer in existence, by the way. So, you get everything lined up, and that makes your job one heck of a lot easier. Okay? So then, you get the information like Jim has done. He's going to give us a good example of how it should be done. How does a person want to be introduced? How much time do they need? Those sorts of things. And then you bring them up to the lectern. The lectern, ladies and gentlemen. This thing right here is the lectern. And I like it. Jack, would you come up a minute, please? You bring the person to the lectern, who get ready to speak, you shake his hand, you get out of the way, and let him assume control of the lectern. That's the way that is done. Now, when the time comes when all the times are in, and we know who the votes are for the best speaker and the other jobs, you don't walk out here like this and say, Steve Flick, you're the best speaker of the evening. No, you don't do that. You stay behind the lectern and you tell Steve Flick to come up here because you are the best speaker of the evening. But many times I've seen some of our Toastmasters walk out around the room and pass these things out. They're to come to you, not you to go to them. And you want to know how they are to be introduced. Besides, people would give you information about how they would like to be introduced, and that's an important thing because particularly people who don't know them. We always have a number of new people here, and we could give them information about the person who's going to speak. Now, it's also important to realize that the Toastmaster is not the main event. So you don't want to be stealing any of the speaker's stuff before they get a chance to speak it. Have you ever been to a meeting where the Toastmaster, Master of Ceremonies, same thing, got up and said, our speaker tonight is going to speak about the candidate for the Republican Party. Now, the candidate for the Republican Party president this year is Mitt Romney. And then on he goes about everything about Mitt Romney. And then that speaker gets up and he says, any questions? Don't step on the speaker's stuff. What your job is to make the people interested in what this person has to say because of his qualifications. Don't get into his speech. Get into his qualifications. Now, there's different situations, as I said. I think the classical Toastmaster that I have ever seen, who always made the presentations down at the Missouri Athletic Club for any important occasion, really, was Jack Buck. He knew just about, you can give jokes, you can tell jokes, but you got to be careful when you do it. Jack knew exactly how far to go with that. And so when I say you can set the tone of the meeting, and I think Jim did it well this evening, get the people enthusiastic, but as I said, you're not the main event. And if you are, let's say, for example, you're to introduce people at your company, and your boss says, well, you could be the Toastmaster to me. You got to be particularly careful then, because you don't want to make anybody mad. You're liable to screw up your ability to get promoted, and vice versa. We had a guy at the Toastmasters Club in O'Fallon who introduced the speaker that came to his particular company. He was an insurance agent, wasn't an insurance agent, he was an administrative guy at an insurance company. And he did such a good job, he got promoted and sent to Ohio in charge of the big office in Ohio. So, my time is about to run out, but I would like to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that Toastmasters is the most important job that we have at Toastmasters here, and it's a very important job whenever you're called upon to be a Toastmaster. And so, keep those things in mind, and maybe you'll get promoted and be sent to New York, God forbid. Mr.